channel, guys. Another It's Tadpole MMA amateur UFC breakdown and prediction video. Thank you all for the well wishes in the comments last week. I'm feeling better. The voice is back to its typical self and ready to hit this weekend's event. UFC Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw in the main. It is an underrated card in my opinion. Before we get into that though, let's quickly recap last week. We got a silver badge on verdict with 4 correct predictions and 1 incorrect. We went 1-1 on underdog selections. As for betting, 1 win, 2 losses on the singles for a loss of 0.6 units. We also lost the multi. We only hit 1 of those 3 legs for a total loss of 1.6 units on the card. The one single play that we did hit was a formula selection by way of Billy Quarantillo. Was my best call of the night. I had Quarantillo via 3rd round knockout at 6.63 times on verdict. Also had him at $2.40 on the money line. The major reason why I picked him last weekend was because of that grappling and endurance advantage. And he secured over 8 minutes of control time in that fight. I also called a ground and pound TKO, which eventuated, so a fantastic read on my part. Worst call of the night, it was my 1 incorrect selection in Marion Renault. I just couldn't have Miesha Tate coming off of that layoff, but she really did not miss a beat. No ring rust, no jitters whatsoever, just absolutely cruised through Renault, who had nothing for Miesha wherever that fight went, so it was a tough one. In hindsight, a bad pick. And yeah, that's that. As for this card, we have taken a few hits. It's really been a whirlwind of a week. The verdict slate had Jordan Williams versus Mickey Gall at the bottom. I was Jordan Williams all day, but it got dropped off the verdict card for Adrian Yanez versus Randy Costa, which I'm not entirely complaining about. It's a much better fight. This morning, though, we also lost the co-main in Aspen Ladd versus Macy Chiasson, with Macy releasing a statement that she was injured. I had Aspen Ladd via knockout. I had that as a single play and I had it as a leg in the multi. I was incredibly confident, so that is a shame. And at the time of recording this, Ladd versus Chiasson is still on the verdict card, so I'm unsure if they're going to add another bout to the verdict slate or just drop it down to 5. I'm unsure what is going to replace that fight as the co-main event. At the moment it's Kyla Phillips versus Julian Pava. But I wanted to get an episode out now, so if there are any changes, additions, or any of that stuff, catch my socials all in the description for my thoughts on any changes in the next 48 hours. We still have a huge betting outlook on this card though. We've got a 6 unit outlay, 5 single plays, one of those being a formula bet. The multi as well at $25.21 to 1. So let's get into it. The bottom of the verdict card, Adrian Yanez versus Randy Costa. Yanez 1.4 times and $1.39. Costa 3.52 times and $2.84. Like I aforementioned, this is a fantastic fight, a great way to start this main card. 2 absolute knockout artists at 135, huge power in their hands, both very active strikers, love to pressure. Overall though, I am leaning Adrian Yanez. He has shown us a little more in his career. I think he has a slightly deeper bag of tricks. He has shown that he can grapple. He's got submission wins in the past. Randy Costa has not. And we also know that Yanez can fight out the duration of his bouts. He has won decisions before. He's managed to find finishes late. He's also fought a full 25 minutes before in a fight prior to the UFC. It was a split decision loss to Miles Johns, but that conditioning, it held up okay. And on the flip side, Randy Costa has never won a fight that is extended past the first round, which is a small sample size. He's only had 7 pro fights, and his 1 career loss was that time that he did not find the first round finish, and it came in his UFC debut where he got submitted in the second round by Brandon Davis. But albeit a small sample size, until I've seen ability outside the first frame, I cannot gauge it. As for what I do know Randy Costa's going to bring it. He starts tremendously fast and he's going to look to have Yanez on the back foot from the get-go. And it's going to be dicey because Costa is a big, big bantamweight. He actually has 3 inches more reach than Corey Sandhagen, and we know how rangy he looks in the cage. Costa is super long, but Adrian's movement and his footwork is superb. I think he is definitely the better of these two fighters on the back foot and with his counter striking. He is also the faster striker and just so slick with his angles and the way he comes in and out of range at different angles. It's very fun to watch, and I think his head is always in the fight. He is disciplined enough, I believe, to wait out that first 5 minutes when Randy Costa is the biggest threat, or will offer the biggest threat, and then just look to outwork Randy when he gets that adrenaline dump from starting so fiery. Both of these guys, I've already said, have crazy power, and I do like Yanez to find a knockout, especially if Randy does tire. And, look at Yanez's previous 2 fights, both absolutely insane knockouts. But yeah, both of these guys are young, no real durability concerns at all, so I'm going to take Adrian Yanez via a decision at 4.55 times. I'm seeing a 29-28, maybe a 30-27. But yeah, I think the first may go to Randy, and then it's all Yanez after that. And yeah, I see plenty of damage, plenty of volume, predominantly a striking bout, and a serious fight of the night contender, and a very fun one to get the first of 3 bantamweight fights on the main card going. Next fight along, Miranda Maverick versus Macy Barber. Miranda Maverick 1.87 times and $1.64. Macy Barber 2.15 times and $2.20. Barber. The UFC, I think they really like her and they want to push her to take out another up-and-comer to get her title aspirations back up and running because, she's lost her last 2 fights. She lost her ACL, essentially, to Roxanne Modafferi. She came back a year later in February of this year, fighting another young up-and-comer in Alexa Grasso, lost that fight, and now it's Miranda Maverick. Thank you, Sean Shelby, who is another young fighter, an absolute bull. Both of these girls are bulls in the cage, really. They're big flyweights, they're powerful girls. I do like Miranda Maverick's hands. I think her straight left is a great shot, and Macy's striking defense is not very good. She stands very upright. She doesn't shift her head off the center line. And that straight left is a strike that's going to land throughout for Miranda. Maverick, she also digs the body as well. I like the change-ups. It opens up the hands over the top. And, she is a strong offensive wrestler. She goes to it very frequently. And what we've seen her do is we've seen her bully some of her previous opponents, ragdoll them from the body lock and then wind up on top where she is a heavy presence. And her jits, it's pretty sound as well, it must be said. She's got 5 pro wins via submission, another 4 or 5 as an amateur. She does like to get it done from her back, but can also wheel around, get the hooks in and chase the rear naked. The thing is, with the grappling in this fight, I don't think she's going to be able to bully and ragdoll Macy Barber in close like she has done previously. Macy is a very physically imposing fighter. She's got really, really good, kind of underrated takedown defense. Her technique is sound. She peels the underhooks. She looks for head position. And she loves that fight. She loves to fight in close as well. She clinches up, looks to clinch up. She likes to dirty box and elbow, and will also opt for the offensive wrestling route herself, which she's not going to be afraid to enforce in this fight. She's not going to be afraid of the ground game with Miranda. Maverick, although she has notched plenty of subs, she isn't a freak jiu-jitsu player. She's only a blue belt. And Macy Barber, she's been training in the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy since she was 13 years old. And Macy knows within her skill set, she is fantastic from top position. Not really with submission attempts, but ground and pound. For sure, she is incredibly aggressive. She's also very heavy on top. And to be perfectly honest, I think she's going to have a much easier time getting Miranda down than Miranda's going to have in getting her down. Furthermore, on the feet, although I don't like Macy's defense, I think she is the better overall striker. She comes from a karate background. She does kick a lot. She hammers in the leg kicks with a lot of power. She has okay movement, at least coming forward. She's not the karate-esque Robert Whittaker or Stephen Thompson type, but she is quite light, at least through the first couple of rounds. Offensively, she can just be a little bit inaccurate at times and obviously liable to counters with the lack of head movement, but the volume and conditioning will be there to maintain the output. Her third round against Alexa Grasso was her best round of the fight last time out, and that was her comeback fight from a year layoff and a serious ACL injury. So I'm riding that train. There are going to be improvements from both girls. They are both super young, but I am going to take Maycee Barber via a decision at 3.53 times. When it comes down to it, I think she can just do a little bit more with the striking and then not get bullied by Miranda as Maverick has done in the past on those occasions when she's looked so good and so dominant. And then I think Barber can potentially do some bullying of her own, get the better of the wrestling exchanges and get it done that way. I like the play. Next fight along, Darren Elkins versus Darrick Minner. Bear with me. Drink break. Darren Elkins 1.59 times and $2.37. Verdict favourite, betting underdog. Darrick Minner 2.69 times and $1.54. This is an intriguing fight. The Tadpole approves. Darren Elkins, the damage, he is a legend of the game. He's been there, he's done that. But that's exactly that. He has been there. He is not there anymore, As for what he does, he's a pressure fighter. He's got relentless cardio and he's got decent wrestling. He reminded us of that against Eduardo Garagori last time out. As bad as Garagori may be and as padded as his record may be. But, Darren Elkins, he eats shots. He loves to eat shots and he is prone to getting taken down and can get controlled himself. On Darrick Minner's side, he's an entertaining fighter. I put limits on his potential previously as he'd kind of only shown us that he was a round one submission guy or bust. But in his last fight against Charles Rosa, he comprehensively beat him across a full 3 rounds, showing solid conditioning, winning every moment. And he did that by and large via out-grappling him. And Charles Rosa is a fantastic grappler and a great jiu-jitsu player in his own right. And Minner had no problems with him whatsoever. I think he's not going to have much of a problem with Elkins either, Where this fight gets dicey for Darrick, potentially, is if he cannot manage to get Darren out of there and, we see a resurgence, late second, late third round, classic of the damage, where Elkins just kind of pours that trademark pressure on and does not let up, exactly like he did in the Mirsad Bektik fight. But Minner's conditioning, it's not bad. He showed us that. It's still not like Darren Elkins, but he's shown us he can fight the 3 rounds. Regardless, I don't think it gets that far because I'm taking Darrick Minner via submission in round 1 at 9.21 times. 9.21 times is a stupid price. Darrick Minner's got 22 career wins via submission, 20 of those in the first round. The only real knock I can find on this play is the fact that Darren Elkins has only been submitted once, and I do hear that, but Minner is so crafty on the deck. He slides through positions and always looks to finish. Just look at the resume And as far or as long as this fight lasts, he is going to fight for this play for us. You know, he averages 3.6 submission attempts per fight, for fuck's sake. That's as high as I've seen. He always shoots takedowns throughout the fights from the bell to the bell, and so does Darren. So that guillotine or submission from Derek's back is going to be live for as long as this fight lasts. I think it's a fantastic play. I love it. I think we're going to get plenty of looks. Alright, next fight along. This is the adjusted, or the current co-main as per the UFC website. It's Kyler Phillips versus Raulian Paiva. Kyler Phillips 1.23 times and $1.33. Raulian Paiva 5.41 times and $3.18. You know, Kyler Phillips, this fight, it was meant to be up against Rafael Assunção. Raulian Paiva it's a major step down. No disrespect, you know, I like Raulian Paiva. He has nice striking. He's pretty technical at range. He uses his kicks. Pardon me. And he's very rangy. But he is rangy for a flyweight, and this fight is upper class for him. It's at bantamweight, and he is no longer the rangy guy. You know, Kyler Phillips, he is the same height, and Kyler has a reach 3 inches greater than him. Yeah, coming up, Paiva, he's going to be the faster striker, but Phillips, he has solid movement. You know, his defense is fantastic. And the things that he does in there, you know, this guy, he strings combinations together so seamlessly, can tail them off with kicks. You know, he has a very strong kicking game, and he also works takedown attempts within his boxing combinations. You know, he rarely shoots empty shots. He sets them up very well. You know, he's also going to be stronger here. He is the natural 135er. As a rule, Paiva does have good takedown defense, but he's going to be made to work to maintain that here. And to be honest, in the UFC thus far, he hasn't faced any really stud takedown artists, which Kyler is. And once on the mat, you know, Kyler's BJJ, it's also really, really good. He hasn't been all that aggressive with submission attempts in the UFC, but he is very talented. He is a Nikki Dakai black belt, which is not something you hear of every day. Nikki Dakai, it's the Japanese name, kind of given to the disciplines of martial arts. It's a form of MMA training that lets their students find their own way of blending the arts together. And honestly, it's probably why we see the movement of Kyler, his combinations, entries, like I was saying, his movement through wrestling and judo throws from his boxing and Muay Thai. It just looks so unique, and it is by and large the way that he has kind of taught himself. Yeah, he is well-rounded as fuck, and you know, he could go with Song Yadong in the striking department. Paiva, he may kick more than Song, but he isn't as good a striker. I honestly feel like Kyler's going to have his way in there, unfortunately for Raulian. You know, I think he's going to be too much on the feet. I think he's going to make Paiva grapple and tire, take him down frequently and keep him there. And, you know, that submission price on verdict, it's too much. The Tadpole, he is all over it. Kyler Phillips, round 2 submission, 26.14 times. You know, Kyler, he's only landed 1 submission as a professional fighter. But this fight's going to see the canvas. It's a theme of Kyler's fights. And once there, you know, I don't see Paiva offering much of a threat, especially with him likely coming in at a strength disadvantage as the natural flyweight, you know. As for choosing the second round, it's a bit of an obscurity. I do suppose I just see this being felt out more so on the feet early. And, you know, I still think Kyler's going to attempt takedowns in the first round, but Raulian may be able to defend a few whilst he's fresh. But Phillips will return to it. Like I said, it's a theme of his fights. hopefully floor it early in the second and give himself plenty of time, climb through Hallian's guard and snatch a neck. That'll be that. Alright, main event. Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw. Corey Sandhagen 1.55 times and $1.50. TJ Dillashaw 2.82 times and $2.47. Drink break. Alright, TJ. Long layoff. 2.5 years coming up on. He has served his suspension for blood doping, erythropoietin. I'll call it EPO. Leave it like that. It's a factor, he's been away for a long time. He's not the youngest of fighters for these lighter weight divisions, but it's not like he's been injured, He would have been working his way back into shape, getting the weight on point. He looks good. He looks good in the Venom. And yeah, he's been in the cage, in the gym, sharpening his skills. But a big question is, how will he look in the cage kind of on fight night without the advantages of having that EPO? Because his conditioning and his volume, those were big factors as to why he was once the champion and once so good, and how did doping help him with that, We don't know. Was he even on it in 2014, 15, 16 when he was fighting 5 hard rounds, pace all the way, even finding 4th and 5th round finishes? There are so many questions and issues with this fight, I faded Miesha Tate last weekend pretty much because of her time away from the cage, and that didn't work out well for me at all. But Miesha Tate, in all honesty, was versing a 44-year-old opponent in the last fight of her career. And Corey Sandhagen, he is far from that. He is young, hungry, at the top of this 135-pound division, and has plenty of attributes that are going to give TJ serious problems. The first of which is his range. Sandhagen is the only guy right now at the top of this division with a 5'11" frame and 70-inch reach. It's ridiculous, His ability to hit and not be hit, it's naturally evident, and he is so slick on the feet. His movement is great. His footwork is outstanding. He has great head movement. He's very elusive, and he is such a versatile striker. He can hit you with essentially anything, from the flying knee that knocked out Frankie Edgar to the spinning wheel kick that knocked out Marlon Moraes, which is literally only the way he's finished his last 2 fights. He's also got the upward elbow. God, everything. TJ's going to have to get busy and close the distance, otherwise he's going to be an absolute sitting duck at kicking range. The thing is, TJ, he can do that. He has really tight boxing himself. He's very fast twitched, and he has that ability to press forward and cut off the cage and do it all night, as long as the reason he could do that once wasn't the EPO. Corey is a very adept counter striker. TJ is not going to be able to crash in recklessly because he's going to get tagged and he will get red. Sandhagen sets things up very smoothly. And it is a big but if TJ can survive early, this is a very winnable fight, Offensively speaking for him, the leg kicks are going to be there. TJ has always kicked the legs, to be honest, a little bit before his time with that. And that's going to be his go-to strike on the edge of his boxing range. It's going to nullify that lateral evasiveness of Corey. It's also going to hide TJ's next step as well and make him less predictable on the entries for when he looks to box and looks to grapple, which is the next big thing. TJ has elite wrestling. He hasn't always lent on it, kind of especially recently, in recent memory with the Garbrandt fights and so forth, but it is there for him. And, Corey, like I've always said, his defensive wrestling is shithouse. The thing that saves him is his defense on the mat. It's good. He's a good BJJ player. He hits sweeps really well, with his long limbs, and he's never really been controlled on the mat. But if TJ makes those grappling exchanges a constant theme in this fight, I struggle to see him not securing takedowns. I see him securing plenty of takedowns. And then from that, I struggle to see him not managing to kind of get some meaningful control time and ground and pound damage off, especially as this fight wears on. All in all, this is such a volatile matchup. I feel like I've considered predicting every single possible outcome, but there can only be one. And I'm worried about this play. There is every chance that Dillashaw, he starts a little slow, a little off, a bit of rust, and Corey, he just hurts him on the outside and then just shuts the lights off. But if TJ can show us an ounce of durability, which has been a problem in the past, but if he can and just weather the first round and keep coming forward and come forward with different angles every time and chop at those legs on the edge of his boxing and set up the hands with that and make Corey grapple, I think he can win. So fuck it. That experience, that level of competition, it's got to count for something. And the will to win, the will to get hurt, fight through adversity for TJ, it's got to be there. It will be there, If Dillashaw wins this fight, all of a sudden he's talking and he's straight back to a title shot. So that's not going to be a factor at all. I'm taking TJ Dillashaw via a decision at 7.05 times. And that's that. That's the card. Let's wrap it up with the bets. Happy note. Let's leave in the green this weekend. We've got 5 single players, the first of which I hit you with it now. It's the Formula Moneyline bet. It's Macy Barber. $2.20 currently on Ladbrokes. That is a 21% perceived edge. Compared to the bookies, the public, we're kind of seeing a route for Barber here. I see a strong route for Barber. I am intrigued to see how it plays out come fight night. But a very tantalising prospect v prospect matchup. And we'll see how that plays out. The next single play, it's my first prop of the evening. It's Darrick Minner via submission at $5 on Sportsbet. Love the play. No need to explain further. I think this fight spends 10 minutes on the mat, and that will provide Darrick with plenty of opportunities to find a submission. My next single play, it's Darrick Minner via submission in round 1 at $11 on Ladbrokes. I know I just said I think I see this fight spending 10 minutes plus on the mat. That's if it goes 15, which it won't, because Darrick Minner will lock up a submission in round 1. Manifest it. Next single play. Man, I must be loving the submissions on this card, because I've got Kyler Phillips via submission at $9 on Sportsbet. I know he has only notched 1 as a pro, but I think it makes a whole lot of sense. I think that is the path of least resistance against Paiva, who is a natural striker. And I think Kyler Phillips will definitely have the will and ability to get this fight to the canvas. And if he does notch a sub, it's going to be the last time you get him around $9 to secure one. He'll come out next fight, and if he's a favourite as he is tonight, or in 2 days' time, he will be no more than $5. So make money whilst you can. The final single play of the evening, it's TJ Dillashaw via round 4-5 finish or decision at $5 on Ladbrokes. Just talked about it. I think if he can survive early, this becomes an incredibly winnable fight. And if the EPO wasn't too much of a reason for the success 5 to 6 years ago, we know that he is plenty capable of securing finishes in those championship rounds or grinding out decisions. So I like that play. The multi, we're diving into the prelims for the first leg. it's Punahele Soriano via knockout or decision. The next leg, Minna via submission or decision. And then Dillashaw round 4-5 or decision at $25.21 on Ladbrokes. Oh, I'll quickly give you guys some reasoning. Fucking Jesus. On the first leg, Punahele, I absolutely love him here against Brendan Allen. He hits like a truck. He's very technical. Brendan Allen's striking defense is atrocious. I truly see him getting slept. However, we're getting the security on the double chance with the decision in the case that Brendan can hit some takedowns, work for some control through that method. Puna, he's good on the mat, so I'd expect him to be all right and survive any submission attempts from Brendan, and still take those rounds on damage. But it just might take time off the clock that makes this one go the distance. And I like the security of the decision. And yeah, similarly with the Minna leg, I truly think Derek submits Darren Elkins, but that flag, that fear with Elkins only being submitted once in his career, I'm happy to get security on him surviving the 15, in which case I think Derek Minna would still take it on the cards because he's shown us he can go 3 hard rounds and enforce the grappling throughout. So that's that. That's the breakdown. Cheers for tuning in if you have. It is another late-ish episode. We're only a day and a bit away from the event, but if you like the breakdown, let me know in the comments. Tell me if you think I'm talking shit with any of my predictions. If you're getting on the bets, fading the bets, let me know. Let's have a chat. You're plenty entitled to fade me. My betting has been trash this year, but the week you fade is the week the Tadpole cashes. So good luck. Catch up.